this computer. Yo, Annie, run, Annie, and Zapik, the first sentence will be for you.
ジャックはユキに、ノートと鉛筆を押し込むと兄を縄ばしごの方にドンと押した。So, 押し込み is that to take?
I would start with the first half of the sentence before doing the second.
Yep.
So, oshikomu.
So Jack takes the
So osu is
yep.
to push, and komu is this very common kanji that means like inside. So oshikomu is not the take out, it's to put in, to shove something into
Okay.
something else.
Yeah, so he shows the notebook and pen in the backpack.
Mm-hmm. And then he takes that same verb, that osu from oshikomu. So what did the oshi part of oshikomu mean? Do you remember?
Is it like to put something down or
Good
fall?
guess. That's okuru. So oshikomu, the komu part means inside. The oshi part means push. To push something inside to something is like cram it into a bag, right? That's what he's doing. He's shoving these things in here. So it becomes the word shove. We can also use the word shove when it's without the shove into. We can take the into away and just be left with shove. So Jack, he shoves something. What does he shove in the next sentence?
Annie
You're right. And
in the
what
direction of the
yes, in the
yeah.
direction of the rope ladder. Perfect. And the next line here goes to Afifa.
またね、ヘンリー兄が振り返って言った。Annie says, "See you later, Henry."
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
She looks back and says,
Yes, she turns toward him as she says that. Hurry up! And the next line here goes to Anthony. Kami? Oh. Oh, you don't have a mic. Cool, cool, cool. Do you still want me to ask you questions through here, or do you just want to listen? Like I could do what I did with Cookie before. Okay, you just want to listen? Sound good. Then Zepik, next line is for you.
ジャックに押されて兄はムッとしたが、それでも縄ばしごを登り始めた。
So here's the same verb we just saw earlier with osu, oshita. This is the same guy going on here. Oshikomu.
Yeah. So I guess it's like as she was being pushed
Mm-hmm. That is, as she was being pushed by who?
by Jack.
Yep.
ムッとした isn't that like being kind of irritated?
Yes.
But even so, she started climbing down the rope ladder.
Yep, climbing up it. The next line is going to go to Effie.
ジャックは焦っているので、なかなかうまく登れない。焦って。
This is be like in a hurry or a panic a little bit. Aseru.
Because he was in a hurry, he's slowly. He couldn't do it though.
He couldn't noboru. What does noboru mean?
To climb.
You're right. He couldn't climb in a umaku kind of way. Do you know what umai means?
To be good at.
To be good at something or to taste good. Yes, they actually have two different kanji, but they are the same word. So in this context, it makes sense to assume he's saying he could not climb taste well. Doesn't make sense. It makes more sense he could not climb well, being well as in the ability to climb rather than the taste of the climbing. But it is theoretically the same word. The next line here goes to Epic.
なんとかツリーハウスにたどり着くと、二人はすぐに窓に駆け寄って、丘の方を見た。So when they arrived at the treehouse, the two of them uh, 駆け寄って、
Do you know what yoru means here?
you no.
So the verb yoru, so not night, yoru the verb, means to approach, to come close to. The kake part means to rush. It's like the aseru we saw before, but without any panic connotation. So kake yoru means to rush towards something. So they ran over to the what?
Window.
So.
Window. Yeah. 奥の方を見た。So they and looked at the direction of Oka, whatever that is.
Oka means hill. Perfect. Yep. Somehow or the other, they managed to get up to the treehouse, and the two of them rushed over to the window and looked out toward the hill. And the next line here goes to Afifa.
恐竜は木の枝いっぱいに咲いた木蓮の花を食べていた。The dinosaur
So when we see a comma here, that means it's describing the noun. That's like the next final noun. So the thing that's doing kino eda ippai ni saita is not the kyoryu, it's the hana. We're skipping through that. So the
The dinosaur
kyoryu,
ate the
yes.
flower.
Which flower?
Macarons.
The
Makurins.
makurin flower. Which makurin flower? I'm sure there's a bunch in the world, or they were back then.
And the trees, not the one that's on the tree branch.
Yes, the ones that are blossoming a whole bunch on the tree branch. So we have a tree branch, there's a whole bunch of flowers on this tree branch. These are mokurin flowers, and this is what this ginormous dinosaur is eating. And then Zapik, next line is for you.
ジャックはその様子を呆然と見つめていたが、やがてがっくりと肩を落としてつぶやいた。
ジャックは見つめていた。
Look, was it like looking over?
That is really close. We do have looking in here. The tumeru here means like to stuff something. So when you're stuffing something full of sight, that means to gaze at something, to look at something like very staring. He stares at it. And he stares at it in a bolzen kind of way. Bolzen
kind of.
is kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's bolzen. And the thing he stares at is what? Sono yosu.
That's what's happening.
Yes. What is happening right now? He's staring at him with a dumbfounded, kind of absent-minded look on his face. And then what happens? やがて、がっくりと肩を、落としてつぶやいた。
がっくりと肩。肩? What is that?
Kata is shoulders. Do you know what otosu means?
I assume it's to drop.
It is to drop. He drops his shoulders. So this kind of insinuates that he had his shoulders up, right? And then he slouches. And after he slouches, he tsubuyakus. Do you know what tsubuyaku means?
No.
It's to mutter. So he
Right.
stares at something a little bit dumbfounded, and then he drops his shoulders and mutters something. Gakkuri is just the sound it makes when his shoulders went down. So it wasn't like a slow moving of shoulders up to down. That's a little bit weird. It's a little bit of the feeling of like bump. He just fully slouches right then. The next line here goes to Afifa.
僕たち、やっぱり本当に恐竜の時代に来てしまったんだ。We really came to the age of the dinosaurs.
Perfect. That's exactly
After
what
all.
it says. Yep. Do you know why there's a shimao here? It doesn't get translated into English. I'm just giving you a brain teaser. Why is there a shimao?
Not really.
It just means he's not happy about this. That is the unhappy verb. The opposite is like kureru. Kureta. That means he'd be really happy this happened. Because Jack acknowledges that it's probably not very safe to be in the land of the dinosaurs, so it's not a good thing to have come here. So the next line is going to go to Zepic.
僕の上の恐竜はなんとなく背に似ていた。On the dinosaurs on top of the hill was they looked kind of like say.
Mm-hmm. It's Sai, but I don't know what they mean by Sai in this context. なんとなく Sai に似ていた。似ていた. But yeah, it's definitely saying. It definitely looks like a Sai. Oh, Sai means rhinoceros. It is a name of a Pacific kind of dinosaur. Interesting. It's such a short name. The next line goes to Afifa.
目の上と鼻の上に合わせて3本の角がある。角
Tsuno means horns, the kind that a Sai would have.
above the eyes and above the nose.
Yep.
There are 3 horns.
Exactly. There's one above each eye and one above the nose. Perfect. The awaseru is like all of them are matching, basically, is what it's saying. On the next line here goes to Zephic.
それから指の後ろに襟のようなものが広がっている。And then behind the neck,
Mm-hmm.
Eri, I assume that's what you drew?
Yeah. But do you know what a Sai looks like? Or a rhinoceros?
Yes, it has this thing around its neck.
Yes, that's the eri. Eri means collar or neck area.
I see.
So they have some kind of collar going on there.
Yeah.
And it's hirogatteru, describing it as the collar is what?
Spreading out.
Exactly. It's all nice and spread out. And the next line here goes to Afifa.
Wait, where were we?
Mm-hmm.
どれから
It's the talking, sorry.
あれはトリケラトプスだ。ジャックが思い出して叫んだ。Jack screamed that there's a Triceratops
Hmm.
But that's a Triceratops.
Yeah, sorry. When I said our Rhinoceros, which is the sai, that's a real animal. And that's this guy, I don't know what he looks like. The one with the collar on it is the dinosaur, which is the Triceratops. As you can see, I'm not big on my dinosaur names.
Me neither.
So yeah, so that is that dinosaur. And in what way does he say that?
He screamed it
You're right, he does. He yells it out when he 思い出して.
when he thinks
Yeah, that's
he
basically what it means.
remembers. Or
Exactly. When he remembers. Perfect. Next line here goes to Zepik.
兄がそっと聞いた。その鳥なんて、なんとかって人間の食べる And then Annie asked, that's bird?
The tori here, it's in katakana like that. That is
Yeah.
giving us some kind of insinuation. Why is Annie using katakana here? The word tori, right? Probably wouldn't be written in katakana. She may be only 7 years old, but that's like a very
Yeah.
like easy kanji. If she was talking about a bird, it would most likely be written in the kanji for bird, Instead she says tori
Yeah.
nantokatte right after Jack had said tori kera to
Oh, yeah, right.
dosu. So
Yeah.
contextually, because there's katakana here, we can make the assumption is that she's talking about the same thing Jack is talking about. Same as earlier when he would say bigger word with kanji, and then she would repeat the word she doesn't know in katakana.
Yeah.
But here it's a long word, so she couldn't do the whole thing. So rather than
But
bird, she's talking about the triangular bodies.
yeah, that Tori thing does it eat humans?
Exactly. Perfect. And the next line here goes to Afifa.
調べてみよう。ザクは恐竜図鑑を開き、ページをめくった。Let's look it up. Jack opens the dinosaur map.
Zukan. We've seen this word a couple of times in here. Zoo doesn't show up to the word for map. Do you remember what map is in Japanese?
Chizu?
You're right, chizu. So the word together is chi plus zu. The chi kanji of chizu is the kanji for ground plus that X marks the spot. This is because chizu is a diagram of the ground of the earth. That's what a map is. It's a diagram of the earth. Zukan is a diagram of a kan, which doesn't have kanji here because it's a harder kanji. A zukan is a encyclopedia, specifically a picture book encyclopedia that has a picture of all the different like animals that, and then like the names of the animal and maybe like a small little blurb about them. The kan part means example, so it's a pictogram of examples of things. So this is an example of a dog, and this is another example of a dog, that kind of idea. But in this case, it's a zukan of kyoryu. So what kind of picture encyclopedia book is it?
Dinosaur encyclopedia.
Exactly. So he opens that up, and what does he do next?
He turns the pages.
Yes. Attazo! Aha! I found it! It's here! And he's obviously referring to the description of the tori kuratopus. The next line here goes to Zepik.
ジャックはトリケラトプスの絵を見つけて説明を読み上げた。So Jack finds the picture of the dinosaur and starts reading the explanation.
Exactly. トリケラトプスは百秋期の終わり頃にいた恐竜で、草や木などの葉を食べていた。So this dinosaur was around right when the the dinosaur era, the celestial period had ended, and it eats things like the leaves from trees and grass. 体重は5、6トン、5000、6000キログラムあったと思われる。It is thought that it was around 5 to 6 tons, which is 5,000 to 6,000 kilograms. That was about how much they thought this dinosaur weighed. And the next line here goes to Afifa.
尺はパタンと物を閉じていた。Jack closed the. Jack said to close.
Nope. So when you're saying something, you're going to need to have a quotation mark, quotation toe, which lets you know that somebody said something out loud. The fact there's no quotation toe means that that is not a possible thing for him to have said. Instead, we have a te, and not a glottal stop te, which can be a slurring of quotation toe. This is te connected from toji, from tojiru, tojite. So this is just te form of tojiru, not toji plus te, right? Very, very separate things. So since we got the verb tojiru, what does that mean? Tojite?
Close
To close. What does he close?
the book.
In what way does he close the book? We have an adverb here. Patan. Patan. Patan is the sound, of course, of him closing the book. So he does like that when he closes the book. He does it with a plop.
Slams it.
He basically, but it's like a slamming it closed kind of thing rather than like slamming it on the table. So it just makes the book make that like pa-bonk, noise that a book makes, like an open book versus a closed book. That's the patan sound. And then after he patas, he itas. What does he do? He says. So this is just the normal way of te form plus another verb that mean two things. So we saw a similar thing over here, right? 絵を見つけて説明を読み上げた. So that's the same kind of thing. He finds the picture and then he reads the explanation. So the difference is that if there is a comma, it tends to mean a 1 to 2. If there's no comma, it does mean that these could have been happening about the same time. Is what a lack of a comma insinuates. So the comma is a little bit like, here's a little bit of a breather. He looks, finds it, and then reads the explanation. Versus here, he could have started talking while he was closing the book. It doesn't really matter when you have the two te forms without a comma. The next line here goes to Tepic.
トリケラトプスは草や木の葉っぱは食べるけど、人間や動物は食べないみたいだ。So the dinosaur eats grass or the leaves of trees, but does not eat humans or creatures.
Yep, it looks like mitai. And this is like a pretty cool sentence because we have a wa here. 人間や動物は食べない. This is I'm just like pointing this out. This is probably something you guys probably saw and went, wait, why is that marking the topic? But it is the topic. This is what we're talking about. We're saying it does not eat humans, and that's what we're talking about. So the first topic is this guy eats this, and then we're kind of doing like a contrastive second topic of importance because we wanted to put emphasis on the fact he does not eat humans. Phew, no need to worry. Because this is like why we're saying it. So even though this should be an O, right? 人間や動物を食べない does not eat those things. So wa can go wherever it wants. It's just there for vibes. じゃあ、 会いに行ってみない? Well, in that case, why don't we go over and meet it? 冗談言うなよ. Don't stop messing around. Don't say a joke like that. The next paragraph is going to go to Zapik.
確かめたくないの生きた、トリケラトプスに会った人間はきっと世界中で私たちが初めてよ。Do you not want to um, uh, make sure or, you know,
Yeah, I'd probably say check it out.
investigate it? Check it out, yeah. To meet a living dinosaur like that, uh, as a human meeting that dinosaur, we
Yep,
are
a human.
surely the yeah, we are surely the first humans in the world.
Yes, as a human that has ever met a Pterodon, a living one, we for sure have to be the very first. Perfect. In the world. And next line goes to Afifa.
確かに兄の言う通りだ。Of course, is Annie. Like for certain.
That's a good guess. Tashkani is an of course, but it's more like certainly. Which is very similar, but it feels slightly different. Certainly, the thing that Annie told ita iutori. This is saying it's just as what Annie says is what that means. Tori is a weird word uh, in that it's hard like to have a definition of what it means, but it's normally modified by a verb and it means just as that verb. So just like she says is how we would translate ani no iu tori. But it can also be like kaita tori, like just like what they wrote. So it's basically just like the thing that they said is exactly what happened. It's from toru, which means like road or path. And the idea is that it's like a metaphor that what they said was exactly what happened. Like there's only one path it could have went on, metaphorically, the the thing they're saying. So this is a very common word phrase that's going to be modified with some kind of like saying or done type of word to say. It's just like he said, just like he told me. So just like. The next paragraph is going to go to Afifa again, because the last one was hard.
わかったよ、ジャックは恐竜図鑑のゆ、ゆしくゆくに入れてすのか。わかったよ means I know. Of course,
I gotcha. Gotcha.
I got it. Jack. Mm, mm. Jack puts the dinosaur encyclopedia in the bag.
Yep. And then the seota is a little bit tiered, but this se is the se for back, like se no takai, to be tall. And then so this is meaning to put something on your back, to carry on your back. So it says he put the picture encyclopedia in his backpack and then puts it on his back. So the it, both in English and Japanese, we would probably assume they're talking about the backpack, which has the picture encyclopedia book in it. So both of us do that same kind of thing where the putting it into something makes it that the something is still like logically the next thing. Next line goes to Zepik.
アーバシが降りる途中、ジャッキは足を止めて兄に注意した。In the middle of putting the rope ladder down.
Good guess. That's okuru. Sorry, that's
You're
oku.
right again. Yeah.
We got oriru.
To push?
That's osu.
No.
Oriru is the climb down, to descend. So the O here
Yeah.
is actually the path we're taking, as O takes both direct objects or paths. So it's when you're not starting at a location and ending at a location. It's just so if you're over here, right, before, and you're going through it, and your goal is to get to the other end kind of idea, that's when we're going to use O. Before we saw this when we talked about the creature flying in the sky, right? Because a creature that flies in the sky, normally it's going to be on the floor, right? And then it's in the sky flying, right? So it didn't start flying when it was in the sky. It started flying before it was in the sky, and then it flew through the sky. When it stops flying, it's no longer in the sky, right? So it's any kind of like location that is not the beginning end point. So it's the through point is marked by O. Same with like if you go through a door, right? Go through a door. The idea is that you're outside of the door, right? And then you went through it, and then you're on the other side of the door. The through action, right? The door would take the O, but you're not like in the door, leaving the door, and nor are you out of the door, stopping in the door, right? So that's like the kind of idea. So the Nawabashi goal, right? His goal is not to end up at the Nawabashi goal, and he didn't start at the Nawabashi goal. He starts in the treehouse, and then he goes through the Nawabashi goal, right, to end up somewhere that is not the Nawabashi goal. So that is the context in which we use O as a location modifier. So when they're climbing down the Nawabashi goal, what happens?
He stops his legs, stops climbing down. And then he 注意した。
Do you know what chui means? It's a noun.
No.
So chui means like caution or a warning or attention or notice. In this context, he goes over to warn Annie, but it basically is any kind of idea of like putting your attention onto something else. But in the context, it's definitely like to warn Annie. So he warns Annie something, which is the next line, which is going to go to Afifa.
言っとくけど、恐竜は絶対に撫でたりするなよ。撫でたり
Naderu is to pet.
is touch.
So.
Definitely don't pet the dinosaur. That dinosaur.
Exactly. Definitely do not pet that dinosaur. Perfect. And itoku kedo, do you know what that means? It basically means I'm telling you in advance, is what he's saying. I'm warning you is probably how I would translate that. But it literally says, I am telling you in advance. The toku here is te oku. And you'll learn oku fairly early on, I would say. I think this is a first year verb, maybe second year, which basically means to do in preparation of something. It's used in a like should type of way. But here it says, like I said, it'd be translated as I'm warning you, but I'm telling you before this happens, right? He's telling you before she tries the pterodon, that she's not allowed to do that. So it's just warning you. That's what that means. Wakatta. I know. And the next line here goes to Epic.
抱きついたり、キスしたりもしないこと。Also, don't hug it or kiss it.
Perfect. Wakatta. I got it. And also, don't goes to Afifa.
勝手に名前をつけたり、話しかけたり。
You can ignore the katteni if you want, but it's a verb.
Officially?
Yeah, it is officially translated that way. It means you did not ask anybody near you for permission and just decide to do it because you wanted to do it. So selfishly is the easiest way to translate the word, but it's used more often than selfishly would be used. Because it's not really about being selfish. It's just about not paying attention to the people around you or asking. It's like, if you're at someone's house, you might say, "Can I have a glass of water?" Right? You'd ask permission. If you just if you were in their house and you just got up and made a glass of water, that'd be katteni. It's a little bit awkward to describe that as, "I selfishly went to get a glass of water because I didn't ask the owners if I could have some first." But it just means you didn't ask or get the vibes of making sure people were okay with it before doing something. So selfishly works really well as a just easy way to translate it. But selfishly is like a lazy translation because it sounds weird, but it does tell you what's going on here. It just means you didn't ask permission. You just decided to do it without paying anybody any mind. So what can she should not do without like paying attention, paying mind?
Give it a name
So yes,
and talk to it.
exactly. Perfect. わかったから早く行ってよ. She says, "I got it already, so hurry up and go." And Jack と Annie は地面に降りた. So Jack and Annie landed down on the ground. So here's that same oriru we saw before, but now we have ni, because ni is the destination, right? We went Nawabashi go oriru, right? That's the go through the Nawabashi go from the treehouse to land at the ground. So that's how those three verbs go through. So if you want to have all of them, right, you have the treehouse kara, Nawabashi go o jimen ni, right? To have all of them in one sentence. The next line is going to go to Zapik.
プテラノードンがその様子をじっと見守っている。The pterodon was staring at that situation.
He was. The Mamoru feels like he's doing it like a watchdog a little bit. He's watching over them. It's probably, we'd use over in English for some reason. Next line goes to Afifa.
兄がプテレドンに手を振って叫んだ。Annie put a hand on the pterodon.
That's a good guess. The furu here, though, do you know what furu means? It's a lot of different furus, so I could see why that'd be confusing. The futta furu is not ame ga furu no furu, so it's not this kanji. It is this kanji. This kanji right here, which I've drawn really ugly, so you probably can't read it, means to wave or to shake. Like you might futta salt over your food. So teo futta means she waves her hand, and this is like to who she's waving it rather than on. So who did she wave to?
Pterodon.
And then what does she do after that?
She yells.
Perfect. Henry, orusuban shitete ne. Henry, go over and protect, basically like stay here for a bit, is what you're saying. It literally says like keep watch on the treehouse for us, babysit the house type of thing. It's like the house sit. Next line goes to Zapik.
ジャックは口に指を当てて注意した。Hush. Jack had put his finger in front of his mouth
はい。
and gives a warning.
Perfect. Yep.
Or the warning is the shoe, maybe.
Yes. The ateru is in front of the mouth, but specifically it means to touch, to be in contact with. It just doesn't have like a touching connotation. It's like the contact connotation. So his finger is against his mouth, is what it's saying rather than in front of it, because that'd be my. Just being specific about that, because it's such a common word that is used commonly. So just to have that in your head, your translation was fine. It's like that's what you'd say. You put your finger in front of your mouth. It makes more sense than you put his finger on his mouth would also be fine. It just on, I guess, would be more accurate for a literal translation. Next line goes to Afifa.
ジャックは先に立って歩き、その後を兄がついていた。Even though Jack walked earlier.
Good guess. So let's start with tate. I know why you got that, but I just like break it down for like the different parts. You know what tate means?
It was like even.
That's not even. Datte is even. Tatte is the verb tatsu. Do you know tatsu?
Stand.
To stand, yes. However, the Japanese word tatsu is different than the English word stand, which is not, I feel like, brought up enough. Because in English, the word to stand means to stand still, right? If you are standing, there's an insinuation that you're not moving, right? However, tatsu in Japanese only has the insinuation that you're on your feet. So because of that, tate is very commonly put with things insinuating that you're moving in some way. So tate aruki would be weird in English, right? To stand and walk. Like it sounds like maybe you stood up and then walked, but it's literally just saying you're walking while on foot is basically what it's saying. And the reason why it's here is because tate is a verb that can go with saki. So saki can mean earlier, but saki as a literal meaning means in front, right? And when you're talking about in front in time, it is a previous point of view in time. However, saki in this context, because it's modified with ni and tateru, to stand in front, means to stand in front, as in the stand in front of a line. Or in this case, right, so we have Annie and Jack, right, walking. If they're walking this way, the one who's standing in front, right, is Jack, is what that's telling us. Saki ni tatte aruki. So Jack, who is walking while being in front of Annie, is what it's saying. So the saki ni tatsu part is just letting us know his positioning in comparison to Annie. One of them is in front, one of them is in back. Well, in here we know that Jack is in front because of the saki ni tatsu. But if there wasn't a tatsu here, it definitely could have been earlier. Normally there wouldn't be a ni, it'd just be saki. Jack ga tatte aruki, right? It probably would start the sentence with saki. I mean, earlier, Jack was standing and walking. But because it's right next to each other, it's helping us know that these two are connected. Anyway, so Jack is in the lead walking. What else is happening? その後、Annie がついていた.
After that, Annie followed.
Yes, that is what it's saying. The tsuku here is to attach, so it's getting the idea that she's right behind him, rather than like maybe like stalking him or something like that, which should be like a different verb. And then the ita here is the iku verb, but there's no kanji. Any idea why we have this ita here?
No.
So this is something that you would not have been taught in class, so it makes why you would know this. I think I probably mentioned it once before or something like that. But in Japanese, in third-person narration, like right over here, it's very common to have iru, right, to exist, but then we'll also have kuru and iku as two different things to add to here that do not really come into the English translation. Kuru happens a little bit, being that it can be translated as come, but this is just telling us where our camera is when watching the scene going down. So our insinuation, right, if this was something being filmed, our camera would have had the tree right here, and we followed the kids going down the bridge, and we have the little putadadon, but Jack and Annie are now exiting out of the current camera, is what this is giving us with the ita. They're kind of leaving the current scene. Versus earlier, it was like we had a panning camera of following Jack and Annie down the ladder. So this is like a very common like kind of way to set the scene in Japanese basically. They basically kind of give you an idea of like, okay, so we're leaving the current location and going to a new location and we're going to have like a scene change. And you can see right over here in the next line, we're actually having some descriptions of the location. Right? We're doing a scene change. So the ita is just letting us know about that. We're going to a new location and let's go describe that location. So the one who's going to describe that location is Zepik.
二人は強大なシダや背の高い草の間を忍び足で進んだ。both of them,
Yep, the two of them, they are susumus.
they are advancing.
They're announcing in what kind of way? Shinobi-ashi de.
Shinobi, I don't know. Actually, it's the legs.
You know what? Yes. Do you know what a shinobi is like from Naruto?
Isn't it ninja?
It's a ninja! This comes from the word ninja because shinobu is to sneak. Shinobi-ashi are sneaky legs. So they're like tiptoeing or whatever. They're being very quiet as they're continuing forward. Then we have the O here. What kind of O is this, do you think? Is this the through O or is this like the object O?
The through O.
You're right, it's a through O. This ain't our destination, nor is this our starting point. This is just where we're going through. So we're going through 強大なシダや背の高い草の間. And shida is fern, by the way.
Yeah. So big fern and grass as tall as your back.
Yeah, very tall grass. And then we have Ida. Do you know what Ida means?
Isn't that like describing a time?
It
Like
can
while...
describe time, you are correct, like while. Ida literally is a word that basically is insinuating a block of space. So, for example, if you had like a timetable, right? Like this, where this is like Monday, and we have like 9 to 10, 10 to 11. Ida as a time is basically filling up one of these blocks and coloring it in. So that's the kind of while it is, but it's literally any kind of space. And in Japanese, space and time are combined together in that you can't really have space without some kind of time component, but you can have time without a space component. So any kind of spacing location will have some amount of time, but it's a focus on the space, less so on the time. So with Ida, we're focusing more on the whole location of time, like doing this whole block here, versus like Nagara would be focusing more like while these two things are happening. Ida is focusing more on the specific time block, versus like Toki is like just in general in the past or whatever. Anyway, here is a physical space. So this is the physical space between two objects. The first object is the fern. The second object is the grass. So it's just saying they are sneaking through the grass and fern, continuing forward, contextually probably toward the hill where they saw the puteradon. Saw the puteranodon. No, they saw the Taracasos earlier. It's not on the page, so I can't figure out what it is. So yeah, that's what they were doing. They're sneaking between those two items. And the next line here is going to go to Afifa.
丘の下まで来て、ザックが大きな茂みの陰に隠れると、兄もその隣にしゃがみ込んだ。丘の下まで来て、below the valley?
Close, that's Tani. Oka is hill. So we have a big old hill. This is the ue of the hill. This is the shita of the hill. And he has kitad, right? He's come right over here, right to where the bottom of the hill is. And then, what does Jaku do? He kakurerus.
Hide.
Yes, he hides. And where does he hide?
影に
In a kage. You know what a kage is? Like a hokage?
on the shadows.
It is shadow. Exactly. Kage is shadow, like the fire shadow from Naruto. So in the shadow, but which shadow? Is it like a tree shadow? It's a shigemi no shadow.
Bush.
The bush. And is this, what size is this bush?
A big bush.
Perfect. So the very beginning is that he walks to the bottom of the hill and Jack, hides inside of a big bush, in the shadow of a big bush. And then what does Annie do?
She does something next to him.
そう。その隣, right next to him, she しゃがみ込んだ. しゃがみ込む? Do you know what 込む meant? That's a word I've pointed out before. This is the...
To put in.
Yes, it's the inside word. Yes. So she shigamus in a way that allows her to komu. So shigamu is the crouch. So shigami komu is the crouch into something. So in this context, right, she's crouching in the shadow right next to Jack. She's being a good girl and behaving herself. The next little paragraph is going to go to Zepik.
兄は何か言おうとしたが、ジャックにまた、シーと言われてしまった。Annie was trying to say something,
Yes.
but Jack says, shush.
Exactly. Perfect. And why is there a shimata here?
Because it's like negative, he doesn't want her to speak.
It's here because Annie's sad about it. Annie was going to say something, but Jack went over and shushed her. The subject of the sentence is Annie, right? Annie wa Jaku ni. So Jack is the one who said this to her. So from Annie's point of view, this is a sad thing that happened. She was going to say something, but Jack shushed her. It kind of insinuates maybe she had something important to say, is like the narrative vibe of it, or she might get annoyed and run off because he's not listening to her. Either like vibe like that. We just know that she's not happy that she's being shushed. The next line is going to go to Afifa.
茂みの隙間からトリケラトプスが見える。
Sukima means gap.
Shigemi?
Shigemi was bush.
From the gap in the bush, they can see a Tyrannosaurus.
So, specifically the pterodox. Perfect. And the next paragraph is going to go to Sepik.
信じられない大きさだ。バシプカより大きい。ムクレンの花をむしゃむしゃ食べている。So it's unbelievably big.
A dampuka is a kind of car that's like a truck, right? But the garbage goes inside of it. Dampuka.
So compared to Dampuka, it's bigger. ムクレンの花をムクレンthat was the like
Yes, this was the flower they talked about earlier.
Flowers, yeah, It eats the flowers with musha musha sound.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. And the next line is going to go to Afifa.
ジャックはノートを取り出して書き込んだ。
It's that Komu again.
Jack opens his notebook and writes in it.
Exactly, writes in it. Perfect. The toridasu theoretically is takes out his notebook. He takes it and makes it appear from out of the backpack rather than opening it. But logically, he has to open it in order to write in it. So it's not like that's a wrong way to translate it. And then hana mo taberu. It also eats flowers, not just grass and leaves. So we've written in his book. And this is where we're going to stop because I feel like that's a very nice and identifiable stopping spot. I just like when I can be like, yes, big old bold word. Just in case it doesn't save my spot. Though this has been pretty good at saving spots, but I've had issues in the past where sometimes it will like fully forget where you are and we're like, So I'll stop the recording.